Hello and welcome back to Business with Smith Co. Today we're going to be talking about the categories of industry. So when you're looking at industry, there's three main types. Well, three types. You look at maybe the primary type, the secondary type, and the tertiary type. The primary type is where you have the extractive industry. This is where people use natural resources. And this would generally be a low amount of the economy. Some economies might have a higher amount than ordinary because maybe they export a lot of natural resources, but other countries might maybe even maybe they even need to import more than they export when it comes to natural resources. But obviously they may have bans of trade by exporting other goods. But getting to the point, that's getting off topic. But the point I'm saying is that that's the kind of the main thing of primary. It's the kind of industry you're looking at here is mining, farming, fishing, forestry, drilling, also in the modern age you've got the green energy thing if you're working on all that sort of thing. Basically, the person who takes, the equipment, matches it with the earth, and boom, creates a good. Now, a lot of the time this good is, isn't necessarily used by the general population, but it is used by the next tier, which is the secondary. So secondary is where the goods and services are manufactured and constructed. So this is manufacturing and construction industry, and the kind of thing you have here would be like things like steelworking, builders, dressmakers, metal workers, woodworkers, that kind of thing, where you're taking that raw material that someone has made and someone has taken, and then you're turning into a good. And this is generally a significant enough section of the economy. Some economies we have this around 25% of this 20. That's the around level you have here for a lot of countries. Next, you have the tertiary section. Now, the tertiary section you have service industries. So these will be. A lot of countries would have this as their biggest level of employment. Some countries have 70, 75, 60, around that. A lot of countries have that kind of high amount there when it comes to the tertiary sector. And the reason behind that is that this is the point where you're thinking, well, primary sector, you can use automation. Secondary sector, you can use automation. Why? Because the customer isn't necessarily talking with them. Like, if I am someone who's trying to sell you a car, if I tell you, this car was all produced using machinery, actually. Did you know that? Yeah. We had a machine to produce all the materials, and then on the machine to just put those materials together to make the car. Yeah. How about that? But of course, I'm not automated. That's the key thing here. This is oftentimes an area where this is the point where you need to sort of think about it like this. Like, this industry is where people are directly getting. This is service or distributing industry. So, you're talking about like distribution, customer service, accounting, legal service, retail. All these different things you have here are all in the tertiary section, and that's the key thing. When you're looking at the tertiary section, you're thinking, okay, well, if you're in this section, then you'll be someone who's actually dealing with the customer, or dealing with someone you're actually giving them a service, or you're actually bringing good to the customer. Rather than producing the good yourself, you are basically, making it saleable, making it a good you can give someone. It's not much good saying, this exists somewhere. We actually don't have anyone to drive our trucks, so we just or someone to speak to you. So you find that good yourself. That's not going to work in the business. So obviously, if you're gonna be looking at a category of industry, tertiary sector, going to be quite a large sector you're going to have there. Now, when you look at the primary sector, once again, primary sector is they extract raw materials and natural resources from the land or sea to make a product. Now, the main industries involved in primary production are, of course, agriculture, forestry, fishing, mining, oil production, that kind of thing. Now, some of these materials are used in a raw state, but most are actually passed on to the secondary sector for production. This increases its importance in the whole system because, of course, if you work in the primary sector, you're the one supporting everyone above. That person who works in retail, well, they can't have a job if the person in the secondary sector doesn't manufacture the good. But of course, that good will not be manufactured if the person in the primary sector doesn't get the, raw materials. And that's the key thing there. That's why the primary sector is a very important section, because it's the section that really everything is based on. That's a key thing when you're talking about the importance of the primary sector, because when you're saying that, what's important in the primary sector? Well, of course, one main thing is all that employment. All those jobs relate to the primary sector, either because people are working in the primary sector or because those jobs depend on the primary sector providing those raw materials. And that's a key thing. You also have the factor of raw materials. See, the price of raw materials, they mean that you're able to produce those goods, you're able to do all these things, and you're able to be safe. You're able to say, yes, there's food on the table, there's all these things, and why? Because we have people out there, getting those things, and rather than just going, there's people in the shops. But yes, but if there are people in the shops, but no one out in the fields, if you don't have anyone out in the fields actually, getting the goods, then there won't be any goods in the shop to buy. Or if you want to cut out the retail stuff and you just want to go direct to the farmer, then the farmer won't have the goods either if they don't work away. So that's the thing. Have that system there where you need to have these raw materials. And it's important to have these things. You also have this kind of idea whereby you've got exports. You see, when a country has a load of these kind of raw materials, it means that unlike other materials where, let's say fancy cars, well, a country could decide, or a world could decide as a whole, what are we actually paying for here? We're paying a whole lot of money for brand name and stuff that we don't need. You know what? No, I'm going to go with the cars that actually have the features I actually need to have. Like parking assist and all these other things. Maybe more advanced features that actually kind of benefit you. That kind of thing. Then obviously that would hurt, well, you're exporting, a country's exports would really hurt them, because it's like, now this is a good that you can't just buy and change, so no one's gonna buy that. But if your exports are raw materials, it's a different story, because I'm gonna buy raw materials. If I want to produce the good, I want to buy raw materials. I need raw materials to produce my good, so I'm gonna buy raw materials. It doesn't matter if one industry is harmed or people decide to not buy as much. The point is that there may be a dip. You've got this important thing where the whole system of this is a raw material, this is a primary sector, means that people will buy that and they'll for all sorts of goods. And this helps to benefit a country's balance of payments and balance of trade. This kind of thing where you go, okay, so a lot of the time some countries will do this more thing. There are a good few countries that would use, a good chunk of their exports will be, primary resources. And that's the key thing when you're looking at the importance of these things. the whole idea of like, well, this thing of, well, you can do all these basic things where you're protecting country, you're protecting your ability, because if you are, especially if you're in using the solar and wind energy, that's very important, because oil and gas and all these other things are non-renewable resources. That means that they can, well, be in short supply, and if you're not the ones producing them, then that can be very dangerous. And that's the whole point, because you don't want to be able to, power. And that's the thing. If you use these things, the primary sector is very important, because, once again, everything goes in output. Anyway, that is really a very boring sort of thing in a way, I'd say, for a lot of people. But in the next video, we'll be talking about the secondary sector and all the importance of that and all the systems. There you go. So please join us. If not, you can view other videos and you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you did that would be absolutely amazing. And if you don't view other videos, both now and in the future, this is bye bye for everything. I hope you will enjoy the rest of your existence.